Hey there, it's Jen from empathicmastery.com, and to get a copy of the book, you go over to empathicmasterybook.com. And Empathic Mastery is a book all about living as a highly sensitive empathic person and being able to deal with all the thoughts, feelings, energy, stuff going on in the world around us and manage it, cope with it. So, happy full moon in Scorpio. Woohoo! So, if you are not very oriented towards astrology, you may know that Scorpio is one of those more intense zodiac signs, and that it's kind of known for emotional intensity. And when you've got a full moon combined with the sign of Scorpio, it means that emotions have a tendency to run high. And they have a tendency to run deep and can really set us off. And so give yourself a wide berth. Give everybody else a wide berth. Tonight might be a night where, going and throwing yourself into the bathtub or, grabbing a big thing of water or some other beverage of choice and settling, curling up with a good book. Hey, you could use that one. And, just taking some time to just really remove yourself from all of the cray that is going on in the world around us right now. So, full moon in Scorpio is also a really good time to use that deep, intense Scorpio energy, because Scorpio is all about transformation. It's all about reaching in and accessing the depths of our subconscious, being able to really recognize what's really driving our bus, what's affecting us. And Scorpio is kind of the sex and death and birth and rebirth, or birth, death, and rebirth zodiac sign. And so with this full moon in Scorpio, right after May Day, also known as Beltane, where the sort of the veil between Beltane is the counterbalance to Halloween or Samhain. And so with both Samhain and Beltane, it's the time when the veil between the worlds is the most thin. And so even though the land is rising up and growing, it's like this is the time, this is the mirror opposite of the time of when we're honoring our dead. Now is sort of the time where we honor the rebirth that comes. But it's also the time of being able to release and burn away the stuff that is no longer serving us, to be able to really let it go. And so, tonight is a really good night for jumping into the bathtub and having a special, personal, sacred bath where you are really using the time to let go of the things that are just you've been carrying around. And it's also you can write things down on paper, you can do some journaling, you can go outside and howl at the moon if you feel like it. If you have a fire pit or some way of burning things, it can be really powerful to write things down on a piece of paper and just burn them. This is the stuff that I'm ready to release. This is the stuff that I'm ready to let go of. So, full moon in Scorpio, powerful time for us to release that which does not serve us, and also to claim the things that we know to be true, that we want to bring into our life, that we are ready to say, yes, this is mine. And I wanted to jump on tonight. The reason I wanted to jump on tonight, oh my goodness, Amy, I'm so sorry so I'm getting a comment in the comment box from somebody saying that, thank you for speaking kindly about Scorpios. Hate telling people that you're a Scorpio because people have crazy assumptions and run away. Well, as a Capricorn, people automatically, I imagine, many people just imagine that I am a control freak from hell. And some people might actually agree. I don't know, my husband on some days probably would say, absolutely. Oh, good, Melissa, you've got a fire as we're speaking. That is fantastic. So, so, so good. I have I have a candle burning on my main mantle in our main living area right now, and a glass of brandy, or a little shot of brandy and a shot of water, because actually right now it's my dad is getting sicker. It's looking like it may be getting to be time. He's lived a good long life, and we've been waiting for a while, and so who knows if this will be the evening for him. So anyway, so I've got a fire burning for him right now. But what I wanted to talk about was, well, one, that, being a Scorpio, there's two octaves to the Scorpion energy. There's the unconscious octave, where our muck is driving our bus, where we are being driven by the intensity of what is, by the stuff that we're not really conscious of. And that's where you get the backstabbing, the passive aggressive, the drama queen stuff that can come up with Scorpion energy. But when it comes to the higher octave of Scorpio, there is no sign that is more capable of spiritual enlightenment. And thank you, Melissa, for blessing his journey. Yeah, he's a good man. He's a Virgo. He was born back in 1933. So he's lived a good, really long life. And, it's sort of like it's time to trim the sails and go on the next adventure. And it will be, I'm surprisingly calm about it. I think partially because we've been going through this for so long. It's like, who knows? I'm not even assuming anything right now. But it actually sounds like it's very likely that he may actually have gotten coronavirus. So, in a weird way, corona is probably going to be a mercy and a blessing. And, I was talking earlier today, because I was doing a interview with my friend Michelle Thompson, and we were talking about the inevitability of death, and also the importance of acknowledging our mortality. That, the irony is we're living in a time where somehow we seem to think that it's not going to happen to us. Like, there's this blind spot we have. And the thing about a Scorpio moon is that Scorpio reminds us of our mortality. But it also reminds us of our immortality. So it's almost like the lower octave of the Scorpio energy is the kind of unconscious, dramatic, emotional, moody, intense, and, kind of not necessarily, and fear of death. And then the higher octave of Scorpio is that powerful, transformational, like the phoenix that rises from the ashes, and understanding that we are more than these bodies, that our souls come from something greater than we can even conceive of, that even when we are embodied, we still have connection to that. And when we leave our bodies, we go back. We merge again completely with that place. I'm just seeing, Melissa, I'm so sorry that your dad died so suddenly, so young. And yes, our destiny, our destination is all the same. I've been praying so much lately. Divine Mother, Holy Source, whatever name happens to be appropriate at the moment, help me to always remember that it is from your eternal Sacred Heart of Love I am born. It is in your eternal Sacred Heart of Love that I dwell now, and it is to your eternal Sacred Heart I shall return when I slip this mortal coil, that I shall return my immortal soul. And then, wash, lather, rinse, repeat, back on the planet to do it all over again. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, with us having access to this Scorpio moon and this powerful time, and just acknowledging all of the emotions that are flying, the lower octave of Scorpio is all the fear. It's all the people who are just like getting bajiggity about stuff. And also all of the conflicting opinions that are flowing around, as well as the conflicting information that is flowing around. So I've been noticing this thing lately in the work I've been doing with privately with a lot of people, where I've been noticing that there's this fear of owning our truth about what feels right to us during this quarantine. And especially the fear of social pressure, the fear of like, well, my friends might want to go out to dinner in a couple weeks, and I don't want to be the party pooper who says no. And what I've noticed is that pretty much every person that I'm talking to is in a place where they still feel uncertain, they feel unsure about what they want to do, and are feeling like they'd rather continue to shelter in place and be careful and be cautious and hold the space. Now, these are obviously the people who are not first responders and are not, not on the front lines and are not working as essential workers. These are the people who are in shelter in place and in quarantine. But what's fascinating to me is how I keep seeing this piece that's coming up for so many empaths about the fear of one, I bet you're going to know this one, of being called, you're being too sensitive, you're overreacting, you're taking this too seriously, you just let it go. Don't make such a big deal out of it. What are you so worried about? You'll be fine. All of these invalidations. And what's fascinating to me is that I know that pretty much every single highly sensitive and empathic person I've ever spoken to has talked about all of the times that in their life they have felt something in their bones. They have known something to be true. They've tried to share it with other people, and the feedback they've gotten is, you're overreacting, you're being too sensitive, you're making too big a deal out of it, you've got an overactive imagination, stop worrying about it, just let it go, just relax, settle down, get over it. I mean, I could go on, and I imagine pretty much anybody who's here watching this, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's interesting that this particular challenge that many of us who are highly sensitive and empathic already experience seems to be really coming to a head right now, where it's like we know in our gut and in our body what is our truth, but at the same time we're having to fight for our truth. Like we're having to claim it and stand on it and say, no, this is mine. This is what I know to be true for me, and this is where I stand with it. So I see one of the really big pieces that we get to do with this full moon is to claim our truth and to say, this is what is my truth about this. This is what works for me. This is what I'm ready to do. And so instead of finding ourselves, putting ourselves in compromising situations or trying to do things that don't feel right to us, it's okay to say, I'm just not feeling it right now, or I'm not ready to go out right now. I still don't know enough to feel confident about doing this. So, in the fact that this is in many ways a wound that many empaths deal with, the wound of being invalidated, dismissed, ignored, belittled, denied, and then all of the, you're being too much, you're too, stop being such a Debbie Downer, stop raining on my parade, go away, stop it, stop saying these things. So for a lot of us, this is an opportunity to claim our truth. And this is an opportunity to recognize that this is not just about coronavirus or anything else. This is, any other one thing. This is a pattern that many of us have been living with and dealing with for a really long time. And so what I noticed is that it's much harder to stand in my truth when I am jacked up on emotion, when I am especially taking on all the thoughts and the feelings and the energy that are going on around me. And when I can give it back, let it go, release it, then what happens, and that's what this entire book is all about, and it is not a 5-second or 5-minute explanation, like how to release the stuff that is not yours. That is what a 380-page book is all about. So I'm not going to I'm not going to give you, I'm not going to try to take something super complicated and give you the shortcut version, because honestly, this is a process, not a pill. There is no short solution to this. But I will say that the first step to being able to really move out of being in that emotional soup and taking on all the thoughts, feelings, and energy from the world around us, it starts when we can recognize first that we are in a state of distress. So the first step of empathic mastery is recognize, and there's 2 parts to it. First, it's like, oh my God, I am feeling completely out of sorts. Just recognizing that. Then being able to recognize what's mine, what's not mine. What do I need to give back? From that, we can then release, which is the second step, where we start letting go of the stuff that does not serve us. Now, I will give you a little cheat sheet, kind of like Cliff Note version of the release, which is your breath is directly tied to what you receive and also what you release and what you give out to the world. So if you consciously breathe in your connection to divine source, if you consciously breathe in light and positive energy, and you breathe out the tension and worry that you've been carrying around, you can use your breath to move a lot of stuff out. You can also imagine that you have drains in the bottoms of your feet, right in the middle of the soles, kind of like right in here, but on your foot. And that through those drains, all the extra crap, all the extra stuff that you do not need to be carrying around is going down through your feet. So breathing and letting it go down through your feet into the ground, especially to go outside and ground it out, that is really effective and really powerful. And if you have a chance and you don't feel like you're going to look really weird and get teased about it, or even if you do and you just don't give 3 F's about it, go hug a tree and really allow the trees, the nature of the tree with its roots going down, its branches going up, to really help you release the stuff that is not serving you. From release, then we can effectively start to protect. So it's recognize, release, protect. And we can start building up our filters and shields. And we can start creating more safety for ourselves so that we're not constantly just getting bombarded and taking stuff in. And that is both a behavioral thing, that's about setting appropriate boundaries, setting limits, saying, this is not okay. And so, for example, one of the ways I am protecting myself right now is I'm curating what I'm consuming. I'm curating my Facebook viewing. I'm spending way less time over in the Facebook wall, because that is just crazy town. There's a lot of emotional intensity over there. So I'm spending more time in groups that are curated and safe and places where I know it's a good place to be, or pages. And I'm tending to not spend a lot of time just scanning the walls and reading friends' comments where they're sharing posts and memes and crazy stuff. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm being very mindful of what I'm consuming in terms of television, in terms of what I'm reading, what I'm listening to, just all of the ways that information is coming to me. And I'm making a point of being sure that I know the sources. If I'm going to read something that's informational about the coronavirus, I'm not just clicking on a link because a friend said, oh my God, you have to read this. I'm looking at the URL and I'm looking at it and going, do I recognize this? Is this something that I know has any validity? Because one of the biggest problems with social media is that people hit the share button way faster than they take any time to investigate whether what they're sharing is legit or not. And so one of the rules that I've been setting up, and this is how I've been starting to create self-protection, is that I'm really asking myself with everything that I'm seeing, is this an emotional response or is this a factual response? So anytime I'm seeing stuff that starts to like feel like I'm getting my chain yanked or I'm starting to find I'm engaging emotionally, I am doing, as Dionne Warwick would say, walk on by. And I'm just going on because we do not have enough information. We do not, and things are too intense as highly sensitive empathic people to be getting sucked into all of the confusion that is coming from so much negativity and also so much misinformation and conflicting information. So I figure all of these answers are going to come at some point, but they're not here now. So spending time in the crazy town of speculation, and particularly spending time in the crazy town of the people who are getting extremely distressed about all of the conspiracy theories, all of the it's being caused by 5G, the vaccine freakouts, everything like that, I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to deal with that stuff when it's time to deal with it, but it's not time to deal with it now. The best thing I can do is hold fast, send my roots way down into the ground, and really cultivate the light. And not get sucked into all that negativity and emotional craziness. Because the thing is, when I'm sucked into the emotion, I lose my truth. I lose my knowledge. I lose my inner wisdom. I lose my inner compass. And I forget what's my true north. It's much easier to get swayed by something that's completely outside of ourselves when we are engaging with and getting sucked into the emotional drama than when we are keeping a distance from that. So, there are times where we have the luxury of engaging in drama, when we have the luxury of engaging in controversy and snarkiness and all that other stuff, and indignation. But right now is a time where the price of that is too high. A dear friend of mine who I've known since I was in my early, late teens, early 20s, she posted a piece that came out just the other day about how hatred of the other side, and I think this goes with both ways, but it was specifically talking about hatred towards the GOP and Trump, is just, it's not helpful. It's not helping us, and it's not helping, and if anything, it's not harming them. It's harming us. It's the poison. We're the ones drinking the poison. And the irony, and I read this and I went, oh my God, there's truth to this, was that when we send all kinds of negativity out at something that we don't like, the side that is aligned with it then rushes to defend them and rallies and actually gives them more energy. So all of the indignation and all of the anger and the rage and the I hate you that I see on Facebook in particular is energy that is actually fueling the other side. I don't know if you guys ever saw, there was a Star Trek episode that, from the first generation. We are fueling it, Amanda, absolutely. There was a Star Trek episode from the first generation, and it was essentially this thing where there was this ship, and where these attacking ship, the more that the Enterprise shot at the ship, the more strong and powerful the ship became. And what they realized was that that the only way to get through it was to stop engaging, was to stop shooting at it, because it was immediately taking all the negativity that was being, and the blasts that were being shot at it and using it as energy to just boomerang it right back. So right now, finding our calm, still, grounded center within ourselves is so important. And to go back to the comment about, yeah, this article about just how unhelpful it is for us to be just like simmering and cultivating hate and cultivating indignation and cultivating rage and cultivating fear. That right now it is a luxury we cannot afford, and it is a poison that will kill us. Our immune systems are, absolutely, Kimberly, our immune systems are so compromised when we're emotional and stressed, and we must disengage. So if, and so that was the other thing I noticed for myself, was that I had started to get into that empathic, I need to pay attention and I need to be looking at what's going on in order to somehow have more sympathy and compassion for what's going on. And I will say that I come from a long line of awfulizers, and I come from particularly a mom who equates worry with love. So the more she worried about you, the more that meant she loved you. And so she could, it got to a point where she could spend an entire night lying in bed, perseverating about the people she cared about, and just going down rabbit holes of fear and worry and concern. So as empaths, and certainly as somebody who is raised by a worrier, I know what it's like to equate concern and care and worry with love and trying to help. But the thing is, if you are not on the front lines, if you are not in a situation where you are an essential worker and you need to be out there, and even if you're in those situations, having emotional distance is so incredibly important right now. Because if we are just like dipping ourselves into the emotional soup, if we are like wading into the crazy, sea of fear, then we do not have the ability to be of support, and we do not have the ability to be the radiant anchors and beacons of light that we as empaths are capable of being. Because the thing about empaths is that we have the opportunity to be, we can either be receiving and taking on all kinds of energy, and right now the energy that is in the world is pretty wacky. Or we can be channels to receive the higher energy of that divine source coming up from the earth, coming down from the sky, coming from all around us, that holy heavenly energy, that good, sacred, earthy energy. All good stuff, that we have the ability to be taking that in, and then instead of just absorbing all the thoughts, feelings, and negativity of the world around us, we're absorbing the higher octave. And yes, Amanda, being a conduit. And then what we do is we broadcast out the light. So the thing about that is that we need to give ourselves permission to step away from the drama. We need to give ourselves permission to step away from the misery. And if there is any kind of old message that's saying, if I'm not worried, if I'm not feeling sad for that person, if I'm not somehow getting caught up in their drama, that somehow I'm not caring enough, like the idea that we have to feel the intensity and almost lose it ourselves in order to be able, and thank you, Zena, in order to be able to somehow care or love somebody, that we need to somehow feel it with them. Right now, the best thing we can do is walk away from the ocean. So I had been standing kind of at the shoreline, watching the big waves coming in at me, and I kind of felt like a toddler, where suddenly I was realizing I was getting knocked over by wave after wave and just eating sand. And what I realized was it was completely my choice, because I am in a position where the way I work virtually. I work with a lot of people, but I do it over the computer so I can be distanced. I can practice social distancing. The only two places that I've been going to in the last 2 months is like the post office once a month, and the grocery store once a month. And Amanda, I didn't lose connection, so I'm kind of imagining that that might have been a blip in your radar or a blip in your internet. But so I was standing really close to the ocean of the fear, the Rona. And what I realized was that it was my choice, that I was engaging with the agony because I felt as if somehow it was my responsibility that somehow I could love people more, I could have more compassion, I could have more sympathy, I could have more whatever by like somehow feeling the pain myself. But what was starting to happen was that I was starting to get ungrounded. I was starting to get a little destabilized, and I was starting to find myself just like being like, what is even happening? The other thing that I realized was that there had been a few people who had been kind of pinging me and sending me their fear and their distress. And what I needed to do was basically send it back and say, I'm so sorry that you're in so much pain. I witness you. I hear you. Breathe. You're gonna be okay. And not my job. So, hey there, Lisa. So good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. So, a couple things that are really helpful for me when I start to go back down that rabbit hole of fear and those concerns is to remember the saying that I love and has helped me a million times. Like two things is Nama circus, Nama monkeys. And then secondly, another one I really love is your poor planning does not constitute my emergency. It's sort of like if you got yourself into this mess and because like in some cases that's not always the case with coronavirus, but when it comes to a number of situations, it's not my job to fix it because somebody else is in an emergency. And that can be a really hard thing when we feel other people's distress. Because if there's one thing I have really figured out and learned for myself and for all the people I work with, it's that empaths feel better when other people feel better. Because until we learn to not feel responsible and we learn not to like dive into other people's emotions, we feel their emotions. And so we feel better when they feel better. One of the reasons why we have such a burning, urgent need to fix things for people is because it helps us to feel better. But when it comes to something like this, the magnitude of this is so outside of any of our human capacity. And so what it means is that we must, absolutely must, step away from the whirlpool, that we must give ourselves permission to take as much distance as we possibly can right now. We can send love, we can send compassion, we can do the steps and the actions that can make a difference. We can reach out to people, we can write cards, we can make phone calls, we can donate to charities, we can cook food and maybe like make a little bit of extra food and drop it off at the doorstep of a friend or something, or the old lady next door. There are all kinds of things that we can do, little concrete, one day at a time kinds of steps. But feeling the misery on the planet right now, that is not one of the things that we should be doing, because when we do that, we lose access to our truth. Because one of the things that is happening, and I was saying this, I don't know if I said this, I said this to somebody earlier. So here's another channeling thing that I got earlier, is that many of us who are highly sensitive and empathic have the ability to look down the timelines and to often see the most likely outcomes. We often have the abilities like prophetic abilities or clairvoyant abilities, clairsentient abilities, but particularly the ability to kind of see forward into the future. That seems to be a trait that I've noticed that a lot of empaths have. The thing is, that right now there are so many people who are experimenting with their ability to look forward into the future who never did it before. A lot of muggles, as it were, who are looking down the timelines. But the problem is that right now there is so much fear and there are so many worries and concerns that the timelines are getting muddied, that the timelines are basically like there's like you're looking through a glass darkly. So even if you have really like crackerjack abilities to look down the timelines and you are somebody who can predict the future, I invite you to come back and get right here, right now. Because right now, it's very hard to see accurate timelines unless you are a master who is like who really absolutely knows how to look forward into El Mundo Bueno, the good world, to look forward into the new earth beauty way, and knows how to really stay there and not find yourself slipping into alternate timelines. So if you find yourself slipping out of the here and now, if you find yourself sliding into the past or slipping into the future, prayers to be here now and really breathing into our bodies and breathing into being here now is so incredibly crucial. The other thing that I was saying a little bit before, but I just want to add to, is this idea of avoiding emotional posts, avoiding pieces where you can tell it's not just the facts, but like, and just looking for, if you see posts and people are using really colorful, incendiary language, provocative stuff, that's bullshit, all that stuff. What that means is that that person's been hijacked. They've been hijacked by their amygdala. Their fight or flight is on. And the thing about when our fight or flight is on is that we get like blinders on. We get tunnel vision. We can only see our vantage point. We cannot see with 360 vision. We just don't have the ability to see as much. And we lose the capacity for reasoning. Our prefrontal cortex gets completely hijacked. It gets turned off. And we go back into the old lizard brain, which is basically like, I have to survive at any cost. And so what that means is that when you see all of these emotionally driven posts, you are seeing posts that are looking through an extremely narrow tunnel. And they don't have the ability to see multiple possibilities. And as a result, they have a tendency to speak in absolutes. They have a tendency to speak, to share opinions and emotions as if they're truth. And they tend to not be very objective. So my suggestion to you is stay in the now. As Maura is saying, stay in your day. And also, as Amanda was saying, fixing them takes the lesson away from other people. I know personally that every single lesson that I've had to learn has been stuff that I've had to figure out for myself. That, there have been times where I've really hit bottom and I've needed to ask for help. But there's a really big difference between asking for help and having somebody decide to rescue you. Anytime I've been rescued before I asked for help, I didn't learn my lesson. And so right now, it's like what we get to do is hold the space for the fear. Honor it, acknowledge it, send it an incredible amount of love. And if we've been through our own journeys with fear, if we've been through our own transformations with all of this stuff, then what we can do is we can offer hope. We can say, been there, done that, bottomed out, felt like I was going to die, hit the skids, had no idea what was going to happen, flipped upside down, backwards, forwards, didn't know which way to go, and turned my life and will over to divine source, surrendered to a power greater than myself, became willing to be willing to stop trying to run everything, and life got better. So what I really want to invite you to do is to just, I'm going to teach you, if you have been with me before, then you've learned this. I've been working with this one particular exercise lately. It's called the brief energy correction. And this is, I learned this lovely technique from Robin Bilazarian, who is another EFT master trainer from EFT International. And I always like to joke that if I am all about like looking for the teeny tiny little granular nuancedy things, and if I can find a way to like add a million, like I just love detail. Robin is Robin is about hacking it down to the simplest, most basic, most like least complicated way to think of something possible. So where I tend to overcomplicate things, Robin, or at least I think I do, Robin has a way of making things just really, really, really accessible. Awesome. Elizabeth, I'm so glad that this is speaking to you. I'm so glad. Yeah. Oh, Maura, I'm just, yeah, that's another, your comment about like the fact that when you start engaging with stuff, you mess up your timeline. And actually what occurs to me is like, it's that whole thing of like, when we all, like that whole idea of time travel and sort of the paradox of if you go back in time and you change it, will you even exist later? And so it's sort of like sometimes we just have to let the universe take its course. And sometimes that can be sorrowful and painful. And all we can do is have incredible compassion and grace and love for all that is. So I'm going to show you guys the brief energy correction that I learned for Robin. So I'm going to just ask you to imagine that I'm taking this hand, my right hand, and I'm going to put it over my navel. So the chakra in the center of the hand is directly parallel to your belly button. And so we're going to breathe in and out one time with our hand over our belly button. And it occurred to me, you should just check in with yourself. Are you feeling calm and grounded right now? Or are you feeling a little like excited, agitated? What are you feeling? So you can just on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being just you're chill, you're completely relaxed, you're totally fine. And 10 is like off the charts. You are in the emotional soup and you're just, like however it could be, like the worst it could ever be. Just notice where you're at. And if you want to type into the comments and let me know where you're at, that would be great. So now we've breathed in and out with our hand over our belly once. Now your hand is going to stay, your right hand is going to stay over your belly. And we're going to put our hand over the heart center. And we're going to breathe in and out again. Now, if you have access to, if your hands are clean, then you can touch this point here. If your hands are not clean, you're going to touch these two, the collarbone points. Awesome. So we're going to touch between the groove between the lip and the chin. Excellent. We've got a lot of variation in numbers. We've got a 4, a 2, an 8, a 7. It's all over the place. So now we're just going to breathe in and out again. And as you inhale that connection to your divine source and your inner wisdom, and exhaling out any tension or worry. And now the next point is either under the nose, or if your hands are not clean, top of the head. So under the nose, breathing in and out. And then we're going to take our hand and we're going to reach back behind onto the base of our spine, and we're going to put our hand kind of over our lower back, sacrum, spine. So sort of your fingers are kind of touching your butt crack, and your palm is sort of resting on the base of your spine. And again, we're going to breathe in and let go. Now we're just going to shake it out. And that's the first round. Okay. Now hand on the belly again, breathing in breathing into your core, really connecting to yourself and coming into your body. And exhaling any tension or worry. Heart, breathing in, connection. And breathing out any worry. Not my circus, not my monkeys. And now under the lip, breathing in that connection to self and here and now. And letting go of any past or future projections or triggers. And under the nose, breathing in that connection to truth. And letting go of any confusion. And lower back again, breathing in that connection to your truth. And exhaling any tension or worry. And now we're going to shake it off again. Hand on the belly again. We're going to do this round a little faster. Breathing in and out. Heart. Chin. Nose. Spine. Shake it off. Belly. Heart. Chin. Nose. Spine. Shake it. Belly. Heart. Chin. Nose. Spine. Shake it off. Now switch hands, put your other hand over your belly and breathe in and out. Hand over heart with your hand still on your belly. Chin. Under the nose. And spine. And now coming back up to the heart. Both hands. Breathing in and out. It is safe for me to be in my body. It is safe for me to be here. I am safer when I relax. And flip hands. So we've got the opposite. Oh, sorry, I hope my microphone didn't just make all kinds of awful noises. Breathing in. And breathing out. So that is the brief energy correction. Can I get some numbers from you guys? Where are you at now that you've done that? So where 0 is totally, completely chilled out and 10 is off the charts. I know that it's funny. The first time I did it, it was like, when I first learned it, it was like, oh, okay, maybe. But the more that I do this particular exercise, the more like incredibly shifted and grounded I'm finding myself. And it's almost like I do it and I lose count. Wow. Are you Meg? Is that how you would say your name? 3 down to a 2. Oh, God, this is so awesome. So Amanda was at a 4. Meg, you were at an 8. So Amanda's gone from a 4 to a 2. Oh, that is so awesome. So awesome. So Alicia, are you saying that on a scale of 0 to 10, that you are at an 11, like that you are completely off the charts with distress? Or is that, yes, that you are a 2 now? I'm not sure from looking at that. But yeah, and Kimberly, you started at a 2 and you're zeroed out right now. And I would say that I was probably at a 2 and I'm zeroed out as well. And yawning, yes, Maura. The yawning is a sign that energy is moving. So as you go through this period, as we go through this time, recognizing that yawning is a positive sign, burping is a positive sign, farting is a positive sign for that matter. Any ways that your body is releasing the stress is all really, really good is a good sign right now. Oh, Zena, I'm so glad that my voice is calming. Oh, and Morris, 3 from a 6 to a 3. Amanda, release. Oh, Alicia, you started at an 11 and you're at a 0. Fan-frickin-tastic. So, happy, blessed, blessed full moon in Scorpio. Also, how are you guys feeling about knowing what is your truth? What do you know is your truth? What do you know you need to do right now? I know that I need to give myself permission to take a lot. Thank you, Maura. I know. I was like, assume, huh? Okay. Nothing like autocorrect. Oh man. It's like a whole other kind of communication thing where suddenly you're like, I mean, oh yeah, my husband, we had Polliner all fruit jam downstairs in our extra fridge, and my husband is like, do you want, and so he texted me from another room, and it was like this like text message that said, do you want the polymer jam? It was just so silly. So I know for me that my truth is that I am not ready to go out. I am not ready to stop sheltering in place, that there isn't enough information for me. I know that things are still very uncertain. I know that I do not have all of the answers yet. And what I also know is that I need to really guard my energy. I really need to guard and protect myself. And that protection is not just about energetic protection where I put a bubble of light. It's also about having extremely clear boundaries about what is safe and what is not safe, and honoring and respecting that. Yes, and Amanda, the truth about keeping healthy boundaries that are not just physical but also emotional. Absolutely. Absolutely. There are a lot of people who want us to get on the crazy train with them. There are a lot of people who want to ride themselves off into whatever. Just there's a Yiddish word, mishigas, which is like I've been using to describe what's going on right now. It's like the mishigas is just like the total like nutty insanity. And it's like there is a lot of mishigas that we can get sucked into right now. And it is just so incredibly important to protect ourselves. So I know for me that my truth is that my prayer practice is at the top of the list, and that my job is to serve the people who I am here to serve, to work with the people who have said, yes, Jennifer, I want your help, and who have agreed, who are working, who choose this work with me. And to not go outside of my neighborhood. Like it is like right now I need to keep my side of the street clean. I need to stay in my day, and I need to really, really stay right here, right now. And that means not stretching beyond what feels right and comfortable. And different people have different health thresholds. They have different boundaries. They have different levels of vulnerability of who they may be connected to or exposing to the virus. And so as a result, just because somebody is doing something that you would never do, just again, walk on by. Like that's where it's at right now. So I'll just say, beyond protect, the last two steps of empathic mastery are connect, which has to do with allowing in divine source and becoming a conduit for all that is good and holy, as opposed to a psychic sponge that's just filled with the gook. And then finally, act, which has to do with living our lives in a whole new, healthy, appropriate way where we can be of service and we can make a difference and we can support the birth of this amazing new possibility. Oh, so good to see everybody's truth. Oh, yes, Melissa, the tree of life. And one of the things I see is the flower of life a lot of times, which is actually one of the reasons why the flower of life is on the cover of the book, is that I see all of our interconnections as the flower of life. And in a way, it's almost like if you were to look at the tree of life from the very top, like if you were to look down from above, you would see the flower of life with all of the interconnections and the way that everything is all just so spectacularly connected. Yes, I'm just reading the truths. Just absolutely. Meg, I am so sorry that in the middle of all of this that you have had to pack up and find a new place, and I am so glad that this was helpful. I will say that I've had a number of conversations, and it seems that the quarantine breakups have been happening. That in some cases people are being pushed to the edge of their stress and tolerance. Some people who've been sober for long periods of time are starting to drink again. Some people who've just been, some people are just not able to not act out. And then there are also situations where what we could tolerate during the non-quarantine, what we could put up with, the circumstances now are making it very clear that it's not tolerable. So what a time to be going through something like this, for sure. Like, how intense could it possibly, could it be any more intense? I'm not even asking that question anymore. I'm like, I'm not going to ask any of those kind of like, could it get any worse? No, I'm not going to ask that question. So before I go, I want to tell you guys, it's been so good to have all of you guys here and to share this. Labyrinth is your way, Maura. Absolutely. Yeah, we all walk it differently, and we just move through the spirals and we keep coming around to the same point, but at different layers. I always think of it as like life is like a spiral staircase where we keep on moving around, and it's like we keep coming back to these certain points and going, oh yeah, but we're looking at it from a different vantage point. So before I jump, I want to tell you guys a couple things. One, so if you don't know, I have a podcast / radio show called the Empathic Mastery Show, and you can check it out and find it over at empathicmasteryforthesoul.com. But tomorrow I am interviewing Clark Strand and Perdita Finn, who wrote this book, The Way of the Rose. And they have written a book about these ancient mysteries that are encoded in the rosary that kind of got snuck in, the ancient goddess worshiping traditions that got snuck in to the Catholic tradition. And basically where the goddess was just kind of carried along by all of the people, the peasants and the people who had their rosaries, and so it's like this magical devotional spell. And I gotta say, I've done a lot of interviews. This was one of the most spectacular, amazing conversations I think I've ever had. So it's airing tomorrow at 1 o'clock over on the News for the Soul radio station. And my show is Empathic Mastery Show, and you can find it over at Empathic Mastery for the Soul. But it's airing tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and let me tell you, it's the bomb. It's BALM. It is so good. And then the other thing is, if prayer is something that brings you relief, and working with prayer is something that you find helpful, every single Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I am here on Facebook Live with my Blessed Mother and my prayer beads, doing non-denominational, universalist, anybody, every name of God is welcome, ways of connecting with Source and really, really working with prayer beads. So if you have a chaplet, this is a seven circuit chaplet that I have right here. But if you have a chaplet, if you have a rosary, if you have a mala, if you just have a set of beads, anything, or you can just use your fingers. There's no wrong way to do it, but you are welcome to join us. We meet at 6 p.m. right here on the Facebook page, and we just tune in and turn it over. And this specific week, we are going to be working on ancestral stuff. So we're going to be doing rounds of prayers for ancestral healing, for connecting to the support, the wisdom, and the triumphs, as well as the ordeals that our ancestors have gone through and endured and transcended. And then we are going to be so it's healing, then it's connecting, and then it is receiving their support. So we're going to be doing work with the ancestors, and I'm going to be working with a specific chaplet that is going off to a dear friend, and she has a lot of ancestral work. And yes, Amanda, one of the reasons why ancestral work is so incredibly important right now is because we have an opportunity to heal past events that are getting triggered by the stress that we're feeling right now. And as we heal the events in the past and help those events to be cleared and release the emotional congestion in them, it allows us to respond from a place of health and open to the possibility, as opposed to that terrified tunnel vision that our amygdala will get us into with fight, flight, or freeze. So you guys, like I said, tomorrow is the amazing interview with Clark and Perdita over on News for the Soul Radio on the Empathic Mastery Show. Like I said, the URL is Empathic Mastery for the Soul. Hey, Lisa, would you do me a favor and write in the comment box the empathicmasteryforthesoul.com? Yes, and healing our bloodline is not tied to time, it moves all over the place exactly, and as the inheritors of the legacies, we have carte blanche permission to do the work, because when you inherit the legacy, it's your legacy to deal with, and so we have complete permission to do work on behalf of our ancestry, because we carry them in our DNA, we carry them in our bodies, and so we have every right to do this work. It is so good. It is so powerful. So, so, so good. So check out the interview with Clark and Perdita. It's so good. It's so yummy. It's so delicious. And if you are looking for a resource that is really juicy, that is really deep, that really does have a ton of information about what it is, how to manage being highly sensitive and empathic, look at this mother. Like, this is a big honkin' book. And yes, we can heal DNA, we can heal emotionally, we can heal ancestrally. There's a lot of talk about healing in this book. And You can go grab a copy of it over at empathicmasterybook.com. This is my love letter to people. And for the entire duration of the corona crisis and the pandemic and the quarantine, the ebook is 55% off, so you can get it for $4.44, and the paperback is available for 20% off because I want this book to be available to as many people as possible. And this is 35 years of trial and error on my part. And it basically, part one talks about what it means to be highly sensitive empathic, why we are this way, what it really means, the impact of that, the depth of that, a lot of explanation, a lot of understanding. And then the second half of the book is about how to work the 5 steps, which is recognize, release, protect, connect, and then act. Okay, I have told you guys so many different things. And remember, so brief energy correction, hand on the belly, hand on the heart, chin, under nose, spine, and you do that 6 times. And then check and see where you're at from where it is. And if you haven't come down enough, do it again. Okay, you guys. Amanda, so good to see you. Mura, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, Lisa, for posting the Empathic Mastery for the Soul link. So it's right in the comments there. If you guys want to go catch the interview tomorrow, it is going to be the bomb. And you guys and Meg, I just really want to say welcome to my world, and it does get better. And, you know, something that just has been really, really helpful for me over the years has been, don't give up before the miracle happens. That, you know, if we just keep putting one foot in front of another and we keep staying in the moment and focusing on really tuning into divine source and our inner guidance and our inner wisdom, we'll usually know what the next step is. So just staying in the next step as opposed to going all over the place. Be here, as Ram Dass, the extremely wise and now beloved guide, and I would say Saint Ram Dass, as Ram Dass would say, be here now. Okay, guys. Thank you for being here. I'm sending you so much love on this blessed full moon. Barbara, Melissa, Meg, Amanda, Mura or Mara. You guys. Vicky, Kimberly, Jennifer. I always feel like Zena. I always feel like Miss Jean Marcia, Alicia, Elizabeth. Just looking to see if there's Lisa. Dear Lisa. Jessica, Cheryl, Anna, Amy, all of you guys. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you for your comments. And you're so incredibly welcome, Meg. So welcome. Yeah. So you guys, if you know anybody who could use this support, if there's anybody who would benefit from this information, if you have any other friends who are highly sensitive and empathic and they're having a hard time right now, please, actually it'd be on the other side, hit the share button. And if they're a little too introverted or, shy to be tagged or have it show up on their page or something, send it to them as a private message and just say, hey, check this out. You might find some support here. I just went from, like on a scale of 0 to 10, I just went from an 8 to a 3, or I just went from a 4 to a 2. And just, check this out, try it out, experiment with it. So thank you for helping me to get this out into the world. And thank you for all of the work and the good things that you are doing in the world. Keep shining, keep holding fast, and keep being you, because right now we need your light more than ever before. So, this started about talking about claiming our truth, knowing what was right for us, and being able to just let go of all the naysayers or you're too intense, you're too sensitive, you're overreacting, yada, yada. So right now it's like, don't judge your empathic rainbow by colorblind standards. You know what's right for you. You know what's true for you. Protect yourself, protect your heart, protect your truth, and keep on shining. And I'll catch you guys, hopefully, on Sunday for some prayer time.